Hey everyone, Chris here, the RC Geek, coming to you from the shop today, and we are talking about the E-flite SU-30. Now, the Sukhoi SU designs are just these iconic Russian designs that really lend themselves well to good flying models. The configuration is really user-friendly in that sense. Now, you can see the airplane, it's a big model. It's a twin 70mm EDF, uses a single 6S battery for power. But I can tell you that, you know, the finish, the quality of the components, and just the flight characteristics, it's really just an amazing model. And I'm not exaggerating in that sense at all. It really is the whole package. The airplane is extremely well engineered. You know, you've got a really large airframe, but it's broken down into really large components, so it really only goes together with like 10 screws. Now, in terms of the assembly itself, you start with the vertical tails. Those are screwed into place, simply just 2 screws on each side. And then from there, the horizontal tail pivots get bolted into the fuselage, and then the tails slide onto those. And those are held in place with a collar at the end of that pivot rod inside the tail. And then to finish that up, slip the wing spar into place, bolt the wings on, and that's most of the assembly. There are the ventral tails, and those just clip into place, but from there it's onto your radio setup. Now, the airplane together on the bench, it really looks fantastic. They've got just amazing scale gear on it. It's got a speed brake on the backbone, and so that's a really nice feature for landings. I do wish the white areas were painted. They are bare foam. I did make one addition for the airplane. I installed twin mini burners onto the fans, the simulated afterburner lights, and it really adds a lot of dimension to the model. Now, with respect to the setup itself, the model does feature Safe Select. That's not a feature I leverage really at all, but it is there if you want it. In my case, I just bound the airplane normally, so Safe Select was off. Now, on the controls, I like to set up multiple rates. But ultimately I converged on my high rate, so it's 100% all around, and those deflections equate to, on the elevator, 52 millimeters up, 40 millimeters down with 5% expo. On the aileron, 18 millimeter up and down with 10% expo. And then on the rudder, 20 millimeters left to right with 15% expo. Lastly, with the speed brake, I have it set up and use it like a flap. There's no pitch change whatsoever, so you don't need any kind of mixing with that. Now, one thing I do want to mention is the airplane does want to carry a slight amount of up elevator. That's pretty typical for a full flying stab jet like this. And so set your elevator accordingly. It is noted in the instructions. The seam line on the tail is just about equal to the seam line, that lower seam line on the fuselage itself. Now, on the CG, the airplane has a really wide CG envelope. Now, I can tell you from flying the airplane, if you're flying it at the forward CG location, it is going to feel nose heavy. So I would recommend targeting that mid-range and then moving back from there if you can. I'm using a Spectrum 7,000 milliamp hour battery, and so that's pushed as far back as I can get it in the nose, but it's still pretty far forward. So with that battery there, my CG is set to 125 to 130 millimeters as measured from the wing root leading edge aft. And that CG feels pretty good to me. The airplane lands really nicely. There's no issues with control there or anything like that. In terms of flying the airplane, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this airplane is the whole package. Okay, it looks fantastic and it flies just as well. The airplane looks extremely scale maneuvering around in the air. It just looks right. The colors in the air look amazing, and everything about how the airplane flies is really quite good. Now, it's not the fastest EDF out there. It's also not the quickest climber either. So if you want to get a nice big vertical out of it, you do need to build up a head of steam. So give yourself full throttle coming out of a shallow dive to build up some airspeed, and then pull into the vertical, and you will get a nice big vertical out of it. The other thing is the airplane lands really nicely. It doesn't have flaps, but it doesn't really need it. It lands really slowly. It's got the speed brake there, which I do feel tends to help lock it in a little bit better on the approach. The one thing I will note is that the airplane does want to approach with a nose-high attitude, all right? To really slow it down, you get the nose up, you control your rate of descent with the power, not with the pitch. And so that's really going to give you the best success on the landing. That's pretty typical for a low aspect ratio jet like this. Just like an F-16, it kind of lands the same. Now, the airplane does have ordnance that comes with it, but I did not fly with the ordnance because ultimately that's just going to increase the drag of the airplane. And my timer is set to 3.5 minutes. So when that timer goes off, that's my setup for landing notification. So in-air time is about 4 minutes. All right, so let's take the airplane out to the field, give you an idea of what it can do, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap this up.
So you had to work from the park all the way to the water.
Alright guys, so there we have the E-flite SU-30. This is a really nice big model. It looks fantastic, flies great, and so yeah, it's been a lot of fun to have in the hangar. I really like seeing the nice scale landing gear with it. It's got the rotating mains. I really am looking forward to getting more flights with it, and this airplane would be really a beautiful candidate for a refinish, although I do really like the paint scheme that is on it, and it shows up really nicely in the air. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to follow along on social media at the RC Geek. Subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you at the field. Hello comrade, SU-30.
Can you name it the cockatiel? Because it got excited for a second.
Is that airplane a male?
Yeah, it's peacocking. Hey, check me out, ladies.